The world built its economy around one country, China. And now that system is starting to change. For nearly 30 years, companies wanted cheap, fast, large-scale manufacturing. They went to China. But after COVID, everything changed. Supply chains broke. Shipping costs exploded. Factories stopped. Governments panicked. And business around the world realized something dangerous. Depending too heavily on one country could become a massive risk. So quietly, one of the biggest manufacturing shifts in modern history began. Factories started moving. Vietnam, India, Thailand, Mexico, Turkey, Indonesia. The question is no longer, is manufacturing leaving China? The real question is, who will become the next factory of the world? Before factories started moving elsewhere, China built the most efficient manufacturing machine on Earth. For nearly 3 decades, the world relied on China to produce almost everything. Electronics, furniture, machinery, textiles, consumer goods. Entire industrial cities were designed around manufacturing. Factories operated day and night. Suppliers, packaging companies, logistics firms, shipping ports. Everything was connected. And everything moved fast, very fast. A company could turn a product idea into mass production in weeks. Manufacture it, package it, ship it across the world. At a scale most countries simply couldn't match. China didn't just offer cheap labor. It offered speed, infrastructure, reliability, and one of the deepest supplier networks ever built. That efficiency changed global business forever. Millions of companies became dependent on Chinese manufacturing. And for a long time, the system worked almost perfectly. But systems built for maximum efficiency can also create massive vulnerability. But then, the system started breaking. The cost advantage that helped build China's manufacturing empire started shrinking. Labor became more expensive. Trade tensions between China and the US intensified. And tariffs turned global manufacturing into a geopolitical problem. Slowly, manufacturing stopped feeling predictable. Then COVID exposed something even bigger. Factories shut down. Ports became overwhelmed. Shipping costs exploded. Products disappeared from shelves around the world. And for the first time in decades, businesses realized something dangerous. The global economy had become heavily dependent on a single manufacturing system. When China slowed down, the entire world felt it. Supply chains stopped feeling reliable. Production delays spread globally. And for companies worth billions of dollars, that level of dependence suddenly became terrifying. So businesses started asking a new question. What happens if this happens again? That question changed everything. Not necessarily because companies wanted to abandon China completely, but because they no longer wanted to depend on only one country. So production started spreading across multiple regions. Vietnam, India, Mexico, Thailand, Indonesia, Turkey. And that single strategy, diversification, is now driving one of the biggest manufacturing shifts in modern history. The race to become the next manufacturing powerhouse has already begun. So, if factories are no longer concentrating only in China, where are they going? One of the biggest winners so far has been Vietnam, especially in electronics, consumer products, and furniture manufacturing. Major global companies started expanding production there aggressively, not just because Vietnam is cheaper, but because it becomes strategically important. Fast-growing infrastructure, strong export capability, experienced manufacturing ecosystems, and close proximity to existing Asian supply chains. Vietnam is no longer just a backup option. It is becoming one of the fastest growing manufacturing hubs in the world. And while Vietnam is growing rapidly, India is chasing something even bigger: scale. A massive population, a huge labor force, aggressive infrastructure investment, government incentives, and long term industrial ambition. India still faces major challenges, but many global businesses now believe India could become one of the biggest manufacturing stories of the next decade, not just because of cost, but because of its potential scale. And across Southeast Asia, the transformation is accelerating. Countries like Thailand and Indonesia are becoming increasingly important industrial players, especially in sectors like automotive, electronics, food processing, chemicals, rubber, and industrial manufacturing. Thailand in particular has spent decades building strong industrial capabilities, especially in automotive manufacturing and regional supply chains. Many global companies already use Thailand as a strategic production base for Southeast Asia. And living here in Southeast Asia, you can already feel how quickly this shift is happening. Factories, infrastructure, industrial expansion, the region is changing fast. And then there is Turkey, a country many international businesses still underestimate. But strategically, Turkey sits in one of the most important manufacturing positions in the world. Connected to Europe, connected to Middle East, connected to Central Asia, making it an increasingly attractive manufacturing hub for companies looking to reduce logistics risk and shorten delivery times. For European buyers especially, Turkey is becoming far more strategic. Faster shipping, flexible manufacturing, strong industrial experience, and growing nearshoring demand, particularly in industries like textiles, furniture, machinery, automotive parts, and industrial production. And for companies focused on the United States market, Mexico is becoming one of the most important manufacturing destinations in the world because proximity matters. Faster shipping, lower transportation risk, nearshoring advantages, USMCA access. For many North American businesses, Mexico is no longer optional. It is strategic. And this is what makes the shift so important. The future of manufacturing is no longer concentrated in one country. For the first time in decades, multiple regions are now competing to become the next industrial powerhouses of the world. Now, here is where many people completely misunderstand this story. China is not disappearing. Far from it. China still has one of the most advanced manufacturing ecosystems on Earth. And in many industries, it still dominates at a scale very few countries can match. What's changing is the structure of global manufacturing itself. The world is no longer relying on a single manufacturing center. Low-cost production is spreading across multiple countries. But at the same time, China is moving deeper into high-tech industrial dominance. Automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, advanced electronics, smart manufacturing. This is where China is increasingly focusing its industrial future. So, this isn't the collapse of China's manufacturing power. It is the evolution of it. And while manufacturing spreads across the world, China is trying to move further up the industrial value chain. The future of manufacturing may become more distributed, but China is still going to remain one of the most important industrial powers on Earth. So, what does all of this actually mean for businesses? It means the outsourcing playbook is changing. For decades, many companies relied too heavily on a single manufacturing system. But now, smart businesses are building more flexible supply chains. Not because China is disappearing, but because global manufacturing is becoming more distributed, more competitive, and far more strategic. Different countries are now playing different roles in the global supply chain. China still dominates scale and advanced manufacturing. Southeast Asia offers diversification and production flexibility. India represents long-term industrial potential. Turkey is becoming increasingly important for regional manufacturing and European access. And Mexico is turning into a strategic nearshoring hub for the United States market. And the companies adapting early to this shift could gain major strategic advantages over the next decade. Because this is no longer just about finding the cheapest factory. It is about building resilient supply chains, reducing risk, improving logistics, and positioning businesses for a much more competitive global economy. The era of relying on one manufacturing powerhouse is slowly ending, and businesses that adapt early to this information may help shape the future of global trade. And this is exactly why I created SmartTrade series. Not just to talk about import-export, but to understand where global business, manufacturing, and sourcing are heading before everyone else does. Because the next generation of opportunities may come from shifts most businesses still don't fully understand yet. I have spent years studying sourcing, manufacturing, and international trade across different markets and production regions. And now, those global shifts are happening in real time. So, if your business is trying to adapt to these sourcing changes, whether you are looking for suppliers, exploring manufacturing opportunities, or building more resilient supply chains, you can work with me directly through my consulting and sourcing services below. And over the next decade, some of the biggest international business opportunities in the world may come from these shifts. So, if you want to understand where global trade, manufacturing, and sourcing are heading next, subscribe to the channel, because this information is only getting started.